Perseverance. It is only by reflection that we derive a just appreciation of the value of perseverance. When we see how much can be accomplished in any given direction by the man or woman of but average ability who resolutely perseveres in the course of action adopted as the ruling purpose of their lives, we then arrive at a just estimate of the value of perseverance as a factor in success. The old fable of the hare and the tortoise only exemplifies a truth which we are all ready to admit when we once stop to admire those stupendous works of nature and art which proclaim in no uncertain tones the triumph of perseverance. All the performances of human art at which we look with praise or wonder are instances of the resistless force of perseverance. It is by this that the quarry becomes a pyramid. It is by this the Colosseum of Rome was built, and this it was that enclosed in adamant the Chinese Empire. One man's individual exertion seems to go for nothing. If a person were to compare the result of one man's work with the general design and last result, he would be overwhelmed by the sense of their disproportion. Yet these petty operations, incessantly continued, in time surmount the greatest difficulties. Mountains are elevated and oceans bounded by the slender force of human beings. How many men who have won well-nigh imperishable renown in the world of literature, science, or art owe all their greatness to persevering efforts? How many of those whom the world calls geniuses can exclaim with Newton that they owe all their greatness to persevering efforts, and whatever they may have been able to accomplish more than ordinary has been solely by virtue of perseverance? They were the sons of unremitting industry and toil. They were once as weak and helpless as any of us, once as destitute of wisdom and power as an infant. Once the very alphabet of that language which they have wielded with such magic effect was unknown to them. They toil long to learn it, to get its sounds, understand its deeper fancies, and longer still to obtain the secret of its highest charm and mightiest power. And yet, even longer for those living glorious thoughts which they bade it bear to an astonished and admiring world. Their characters, which are now given to the world and will be to millions yet unborn as patterns of greatness and goodness, were made by that untiring perseverance which marked their whole lives. From childhood to age, they knew no such word as fail. Defeat only gave them power. Difficulty only taught them the necessity of redoubled exertions. Dangers gave them courage, and the sight of great labors inspired in them corresponding exertions. Their success has been wrought out by persevering industry. It has been said by shrewd observers that successful men owe more to their perseverance than to their natural powers, their friends, or the favorable circumstances around them. Genius will falter by the side of labor. Great powers will give place to great industry. Talents are desirable, but perseverance is more so. It will make mental powers, or at least strengthen those already made. This should teach a great lesson of patience to those who are so nearly ready to sink in despair and have grown weary in their strivings for better things. For one who faints not, but resolutely takes up the work of life and perseveringly continues his exertion, It is possible for him to reach almost any height to which his ambition may point. Some of the great works of literature in which are stored away great masses of information are the results of persevering efforts before which many minds would have quailed. Gibbon consumed 19 years in writing his masterpiece. How many would have had the courage to persevere that length of time, though certain of success at last? Courage, when combined with energy and perseverance, will overcome difficulties apparently insurmountable. Perseverance, working in the right direction and when steadily practiced, even by the most humble, will rarely fail of its reward. It inspires in the minds of all fair-minded people a friendly feeling. Who will not befriend the persevering, energetic youth, the fearless man of industry? Who is not a friend to him who is a friend to himself? He who perseveres in business amidst hardships and discouragements will always find ready and generous friends in time of need. He who will persevere in a course of wisdom, rectitude, and benevolence is sure to gather round him friends who will be true and faithful. Go to the men of business, of work, of influence, and ask them who shall have their confidence and support. They'll tell you, the men who falter not by the wayside,
who toil on in their calling against every barrier,
whose eyes are upward, and whose motto is Excelsior. These are the men to whom they give their confidence. But they shun the lazy, the indolent, the fearful and faltering. They would as soon trust the wind as such men. If you would win friends, be steady and true to yourself. Be the unfailing friend of your own purposes. Stand by your own character,
and others will come to your aid.
Almost every portion of the earth teems with works which show what man has been able to effect in the physical world by means of perseverance. Calculate, if you can, the efforts required to build the pyramids of Egypt. Can you conceive of a more enduring monument to the triumph of perseverance than that? Look at nature. She has 1,000 voices teaching lessons of perseverance. The lofty mountains are wearing down by slow degrees. The ocean is gradually but surely filling up by deposits from its 1,000 rivers and by the labors of a little insect so small as to be almost invisible to the naked eye. Every shower that sweeps over the surface of the country tends to bring the hills and the mountains to the level of the plains. Nature has but one lesson on this subject, and that is persevere. More depends upon active perseverance than upon genius, says a common sense author upon this subject. Genius unexerted is no more genius than a bushel of acorns is a forest of oaks. There may be epics in men's brains, just as there are oaks in acorns, but the tree and the book must come out before we can measure them.
Firmness of purpose
is one of the most necessaries in use of character and one of the best instruments of success. Without it, genius wastes its efforts in a maze of inconsistencies. It gives power to weakness and opens to poverty the world's mark. It spreads fertility over the barren landscape and bids the choicest fruits and flowers spring up and flourish in the desert abode. There is perhaps nothing more conducive to success in any important and difficult undertaking than a firm, steady, unremitting spirit. In seasons of distress and difficulty, to abandon ourselves to dejection is evidence of a weak mind. Opposing circumstances often create strength, both mental and physical. Opposition gives us greater power of resistance. To overcome one barrier gives us greater ability to overcome the next. It is cowardice to grumble about circumstances. Instead of sinking under trouble, it becomes us in the evil day with perseverance to maintain our part, to bear up against the storm, to have recourse to those advantages which in the worst of times are always left to integrity and virtue, and never to give up the hope that better days may come.
It is wonderful to see what miracles a resolute and unyielding will can achieve. Before its irresistible energy, the most formidable obstacles become as cobweb barriers in the path. Difficulties, the terrors of which cause the irresolute to sink back with dismay, provoke from the man of lofty determination only a smile. The whole history of our race, all nature, indeed, teems with examples to show what wonders may be accomplished by resolute perseverance and patient toil. How many there are who, thinking of the immense amount of work lying between them and the object of their desires, are almost ready to give up in despair. But do they not, when they view the work thus in mass, forget that there is time enough, if only rightly improved, to suffice for each effort? One step after another, perseveringly continued, will enable you to arrive at your journey's end, however long it may be. It is only when you come to reckon up the aggregate number of steps that you are ready to sink under a feeling of despair. But you are not required to take them all at once. There is an allotted time for each individual step. Thus, in viewing any work that you may have marked out in life, only remember that you are not obliged to do the work all at once, that the regular daily portions performed quietly and systematically day after day will enable you to achieve almost any desired result. When we reflect on the wonderful results that perseverance has accomplished, we are led to believe that the man who wills, resolves, and perseveres can do almost anything. Everyone, then, regardless of his condition in life, should set his aim high and resolve to remit no labor necessary for its realization, but cheerfully take up the trials and burdens that life has in store for him, and carry them forward, be the discouragements what they may, to a glorious consummation. Only learn to carry a thing through in all of its details, and you have measured the secret of success. Only learn to persevere in carrying out any plan of work which an enlightened judgment decides is the best, and you will force life to yield you its grandest triumphs. There is almost no limit to what you can achieve if you thus govern your actions and make all your exertions contribute to the fulfilling of some great purpose of life, which you took up with a brave heart and with a determination to persevere therein until success crowns your efforts.